my bowels are getting old. I have to go to the toilet. Would you believe it? So I'm going to let you guys connive amongst yourselves while I'm not around, and I will be back very, very quickly. Okay, sorry.
Sure thing.
No worries.
My bowels are getting old. I need that
My
on a
bowels.
t-shirt.
My bowels. That's what my next NPC is going to say. My bowels are getting old. Let's do this transaction quickly. My dad was saying the other day he might as well wear nappies. I'm just like, Dad, that day will come. Not for me,
No need,
but for you.
you don't need to prematurely.
We're not going to experience this together, but
Yeah.
Say the best high-level monster in the D&D 5e monster manual and why? Well, that would have to be dragons, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the obvious answer, right?
That's the obvious answer.
And it's the obvious answer because it's the correct answer.
Yeah.
We should just be like, dragons, next.
Next.
Without dragons, Dungeons and Dragons are just dungeons.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason it's in the name of the game, I was looking through the book and I'm like, I just really want to do dragons.
What's 6th edition going to be like, AJ? And I'm like, well, they're probably just going to throw out all the pre-existing lore and start with Magic the Gathering.
I have been thinking about this since the day I uploaded the first video I ever did on my YouTube channel. I was like, there will come a day when none of this matters anymore and we just start over.
We start over again.
Straight up. I remember having that thought. I was like, that's not going to be for a while. That's fine. It'll be one of those times where it'll be both like I think a boon and a curse to everyone who does what we do. It'll be like, oh, there's so much new stuff to talk about. Also, like, just ignore the past 3 years of backlog. Like that doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Well, there's plenty of people who watch our channels who don't play D&D, which is interesting. So they get their daily dose of fantasy by listening to us talk about it, which is So there's always this. I'm not talking about the stats enough of this monster. On the other hand, a lot of people just sort of zone out when I talk about stats and stuff. So
I always found that funny until I watched like the first Warhammer 40K lore video that I ever watched. And then I was like, okay, never played this game, but I know so much about it now. Like I'll just throw those on sometimes when I'm working on usually D&D stat blocks or something. It's funny.
I have painted the miniatures. I have had an army in a box. I've never actually played Warhammer 40K, and yet I can sit down and talk about necrons for 20 minutes.
Well, clearly they're doing something right then.
Yeah. Actually, the genesis of Games Workshop is really interesting from a D&D historic sort of point of view.
I bet it would be.
Have you ever tried to pull Warhammer content into 5e or use any of that?
All the time. Yeah. Orcs in particular are my favorite. The idea that you need to burninate the ground in order for the orcs, the space orcs, to stop them coming back from spawning up out of the ground is just absolutely brilliant. It's like, oh, the orcs are the plague. I thought the zombies would be. No.
Yeah, because they're like fungus, right?
Yeah. They're a biologically engineered creature made for war, which has got war genetically coded into it, so that the more orcs there are, the more of their genetic information unlocks. So they start basically putting together guns and vehicles and things like that through like genetic memory, instinct. So for them, building a flamer is like, an ant building a hive. It's just, it's a no-brainer. They don't even think about it. They couldn't explain to you why they're doing it. They just do it.
The implication of like them having really low level, like kind of crappy psionic abilities that like they don't really know how they use, but it manifests itself by like, oh, if I paint this tank red, it goes faster. And just because they like believe that, they're using that like psionic ability that they don't even really understand that they have. But like if enough of them group together and paint a vehicle red, it will actually make it go faster just because they're like willing it to. Or like, oh, we paint our missiles like orange, it makes them blow up bigger. Like, but it kind of becomes true. Like that's so ridiculous. But it's cool. Stuff like that.
And the only thing saving the universe from them taking over completely is the fact that they are fractious, and when there's nothing immediately facing them as an enemy, they consider each other enemies and fight each other. So it's just like, oh man, perfect creature race for a space D&D game.